Hello, my friends. Welcome to another edition of the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. Today is going to be part 2 of our 50-part series on identifying the state taxes retirees are going to have to pay. And we're just going to use simple alphabetical order. So we start with Alabama, and today's going to be Alaska. So let's look into this. It's pretty interesting, and a lot of good websites out there that you can use for your own benefit as well to kind of dive into some of this more research specific to what you are thinking about retiring to. Maybe you live in New York and you think about retiring to South Carolina. Maybe you live in Massachusetts and you're thinking about retiring to New Hampshire. Whatever it is, they're going to give you the resources for the state-by-state analysis. The first place we start is Tax Foundation. So taxfoundation.org, and then Center for State Tax Policy. And what are taxes likely like in your state? Click on that drop down and we go to Alaska and click on Learn More. So let's talk about what the Tax Foundation is going to share with us about Alaska. As that's use the Smart Asset, and this is something I'm relatively new to. I wasn't familiar with Smart Asset until about 2 weeks ago, but I like what they're doing. In fact, I'm a pretty big fan of what they're doing, as a matter of fact. So I'm not sure where the funding is coming from these guys doing all this, but I think they got a pretty good program here. And again, I don't know who owns it, who founded it or whatnot, but they get a lot of good information on this Smart Asset. So smartasset.com, retirement, and then you can see Alaska retirement taxes. Again, I'll put all these links in the show notes. And lastly, and this is actually where I started with, is Kiplingers. I mean, Kiplingers and Tax Foundation, by far and away, the two most prevalent sites that I use when it comes to taxes, retirement planning info as well. I am going to throw the Smart Asset in there too, because they got a lot of good interactive tools as well. But for right now, Kiplinger, you can't go wrong. Absolutely. So Kiplingers and on top of that, the Tax Foundation ones are perfect. So Kiplinger's Guide to Taxes, and they're where they got Alaska up here on the map. Click here for retiree tax map. Kiplinger's, the URL is, let me look at that. Yeah, I'm a fan of the Tax Foundation. Taxfoundation.org/state/Alaska. Let's see what the Smart Asset, that's better. smartasset.com/retirement/Alaska-retirement-taxes. And then we go to Kiplingers, and we're like, wow, look at that. That's a lot of verbiage there for a URL. So we'll start with the Kiplingers right now. So state by state guided taxes on retirees, and we got Alaska pulled up. And they say Alaska is one of the most tax-friendly of all the states in the union. In fact, they say it's one of the top 10 most tax-friendly states for retirees. The last frontier is a true tax haven for retirees. Alaskans pay no state income tax or state sales tax. Now think about it. If you live in Alaska and there's no state sales tax, that is wonderful, because one of the things they could do to really bump up the taxes on you is a sales tax. Because unlike in Massachusetts or Maine, where you can just slide on over the border in New Hampshire where there's no sales tax, in Alaska, where are you going to go? There's no place to go. Canada. So that I think that's pretty hugely beneficial for Alaskans, that not only is there not an income tax, but there's no state sales tax as well, because they could really hammer you on the state sales tax. In addition, the state sends all permanent residents who have lived there for at least 1 year an annual dividend check from the state's oil well savings account. The 2017 is about $1,100, and 2015 is $2,000. So there you go. You get a little bit of a refund because they drill for oil up there, and that goes back into your pocket. And it looks like that's not specific to your income. It's just if you live there for over a year, you get that money. So that's pretty cool. And on top of that, there's no state income tax and no state sales tax. Well, Alaskan real estate taxes, homeowners 65 and older and surviving spouses 60 or older are exempt from municipal taxes on the first $150,000 of their property. So that's pretty fantastic. We need to dive in there a little bit more, though, because they are exempt if you're 65 and older as a homeowner, or a surviving spouse 60 or older. I don't know if that means localities can get you. They are saying municipal taxes, and that's property tax. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. Alaska is one of the 5 states with no sales tax. However, and this is what I'm talking about, this is for sales tax. Localities can levy sales taxes, which can go as high as 7.5%. But according to the Tax Foundation, the average is only 1.76%. So that's good. no state income tax. Social Security, I would obviously, if there's no income, benefits are not taxed for Social Security. Retirement income is not taxed. IRA income is not taxed. Not taxed, not taxed, not taxed. Now, this is typically where we're going to get hit. Property taxes, usually like in Texas. No state income tax in Texas, so they hammer you on property taxes. New Hampshire the same way, big time. And so typically, if there's no state income tax, they're going to hammer you other way. In Alaska, like New Hampshire, also has no sales tax. So they got no revenue coming from income. They got no revenue coming from sales. So they're going to get you someplace else. Although taxing property is a primary method of raising revenues for most of large municipalities in the state, see, that's what I'm talking about. Large municipalities can still tax property. Now, can it tax property for retirees? I mean, it said no. Smaller municipalities favor a sales tax. This is primarily because the smaller incorporated areas lack a tax base large enough to support the property tax. The median tax on property tax on Alaska's median home value is $3,000 on $250,000. So just remember, median, half above, half below. So 3,000 divided by 250, that's 1.2%. So that's not low, but it's not extraordinarily high, relatively speaking, given there's no sales tax and there's no income tax. So that's pretty favorable. And if you're over 65 or a surviving spouse over 60, you're exempt on municipal taxes on the first $150,000 of assessed value. Now, I've lived in a bunch of different places, and generally speaking, the assessed value is well below the fair market value. So now, there's always a political football or time bomb, I suppose, when they're trying to raise the assessed value to at least compensate with the increases in fair market values. So I don't know if the assessed value in Alaska is going to be similar to the fair market value, my friends. I don't know. That'd be something that you need to dive into. But let's just say you have a home in $250,000. If you lived in Georgia, your assessed value, that's a fair market value, I mean $250,000. If you lived in Georgia, your assessed value, at least in Fulton County, is going to be significantly lower than that. And so don't assume that home fair market value, what you pay for your house or what you could sell for it, is the same as the assessed value. I just don't know how that works in Alaska. But if assessed value is significantly lower than your fair market value, then you're going to pay less of any income tax or property tax. Vehicle taxes, again, goes back to municipalities. They determine the sales tax for vehicles, and they can choose to levy an annual registration tax. So basically, for an example, a 2-year-old car in Anchorage would have a motor vehicle registration of $150. Is that, I don't know if that's per year or not. Registration here in Georgia, they kill you on the registration when you just go register up front, and then it's like $30 a year they're in. So I'm not sure. That says registration. A one-time registration fee is what that would lead me to believe, which is pretty fantastic, actually. If it's just $150, a 2-year-old vehicle in Anchorage and a one-time registration fee of $150, that's not too shabby, let me tell you, and no estate or inheritance tax. All right, cool. So let's go to what the Tax Foundation says. Each state's tax code is a multifaceted system with many moving parts, and Alaska is no exception. The first step towards understanding Alaska's tax is knowing the basic. How does Alaska rate? And state and local individual income tax collections per capita, big fat goose egg, no individual income tax. State and local taxes could be up to 6.5%, which is, let's take a look what they're saying here. So Alaska is number 50. So either that, I always forget, either that's number 1 or that's last. Let's see here. Yeah, so that's dead last. That's good. That's what you want. So in here, Alaska is the least burdensome of the state and local income tax. And you can say, because here's California, number 6, the highest burden. So Alaska is the lowest burden state and local income tax in the United States. That's pretty cool. Tax Freedom Day in Alaska is April 10th. Remember, yesterday for Alabama was April 9th, essentially when you paid up all your taxes to the state there. And that's the Fed. So let's see about sales tax. The individual tax, I'm saying income tax, does not have a state sales tax. Average local sales tax rate is quite low. Gasoline tax, again, the lowest in the country at 50, only 12.3% tax on gasoline. If you smoke, you're going to pay a higher tax per pack, so quit. Let's see. Property taxes, this got to be, yeah. So state and local property tax collections per capita, they're ranked 11. So they're, they're in the high end in terms of state and local property taxes. And there you go. 1% of your owner-occupied assessed value is going each and every year to your state and local property tax collection. Now, remember, though, as we already talked about, if you're over 65, you get the first $150,000 of assessed value forgiven. And if you're a surviving spouse over 60, the same thing. So, you got to get a pretty sizable house to get over that threshold where it's really starting to eat you alive. And so think about it. If you got a $250,000 home and you're over 65 and the first $150,000 is forgiven, your property tax is going to be 1% on the remaining $100,000. So a $250,000 home, you're going to pay $1,000 in property tax. That's not too shabby, my friends. That's pretty fantastic. Now, where does Alaska get you? Well, I mean, how much does the oil and the gas cost to heat your home? Don't know. I can almost guarantee you heat pumps are not a viable option up in Alaska. Now, they might have them for when it's cool out, but they're certainly not going to have them. I mean, when it's a moderate climate, someone just texted me, sorry about that, but they're certainly not going to have them when it gets real cold. I guarantee that. So you're going to pay some serious money for your heating. That's a fact. I imagine you probably don't need an AC unit up there much, if at all. So probably just some fans, and you can operate fans on PV panels. I mean, literally, they don't take up much electricity usage. Maybe 100 watts. I don't have one right here. No, I don't have a fan. Yeah, too bad. I can tell you what a simple fan would run you in terms of wattage. That won't take you much at all. If you had just batteries, 12-volt batteries and a PV photovoltaic panel, you can run fans so you're blue in the face. And on top of that, you're not even needing an air conditioning unit. Just open up your windows. The issue is when it gets cold, how much they spend on the cold that they have in Alaska. So that's it. So that's Alaska. Let's see what the good folks at Smart say, because here they got a nice little chart we can use. Overview of Alaska retirement tax friendliness, no state income tax, which I already talked about. So we're going to go back to annual Social Security income at $25,000, annual retirement account income at $25,000. We're going to say you're born in 1953, and you will pay zero, my friends, zero in taxes. So let's just switch these around. Let's just say we got $50,000 of retirement income and nothing in Social Security, and I bet it's going to be the same. Let's double check. I like this thing of Smart Asset. I wish I could embed it into my own website because it's pretty sweet. All right. Well, come on, Smart Asset. Let's see what you got. Taking a long time. What is that? That's not what I wanted. All right. So, yep. No. Yeah, I don't like that. I see where Asset is getting their some of their funding. They got these life insurance quotations things. That's pretty interesting. I'm sure what Smart Asset is doing is they're getting your information and they're selling it to someone who sells life insurance. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but they have a pretty good website here, and I was wondering how they're getting their funding because these things are not cheap. All right, so if you have all your income from IRA distributions and none from Social Security, you don't pay any state income tax, and if it's all from Social Security and none from IRA distributions, you won't pay any state income tax as well. So that's it, my friends. Alaska is quite favorable. I mean, no getting around that. Definitely, like the good folks at Kiplingers say, is in the top 10. Nothing more needs to be said. So good job, Alaska. I mean, if you can handle the cold, I think Alaska looks pretty favorable to you. Hope this helps. I'll put the links in the show notes as always. Thumbs up always help me on YouTube. Just want to revisit that because YouTube looks at the amount of likes that are on your videos that you do. And the more likes, the more prominence they give you in terms of suggested videos and things of that nature, which helps me get more traffic, which helps me get more likes, which helps me take the time to continue to do these videos. So thumbs up are always helpful, my friends, and comments too. Any kind of activity you could do on the YouTube channel is absolutely helpful to me. So go ahead and fire away. I'm open to all ears until any comments that you have. And don't forget to subscribe. Hit the red button down there, subscribe, and then hit the notification bell. Get notified of future content because I got, 48 more of these to do. And I like it. It's fun. It's actually a good learning experience for me as well as I deal with clients because people are moving. People are moving all the time. South Carolina is basically becoming the New York of the North is basically a Florida North because a lot of people who used to retire to Florida are now retiring to South Carolina. And I hear this question a lot, where should I retire to? So this is good for me to learn from my own clients. So don't forget to visit heritagewealthplanning.com for all the podcast updates, the blog posts, and of course, these videos as well. See you next time on the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. Thanks, guys.